The Very Greedy Bee by Steve Smallman, illustrated by Jack Tickle. In a busy, buzzy beehive lived a very greedy bee. All the other bees worked hard, making honey and cleaning the hive, but the greedy bee spent all day gobbling pollen and guzzling nectar. Slurp, burp, burp, slurp, slurp, burp. There he is. The greedy bee wouldn't share his nectar with anyone. He wouldn't even let a tired ladybug sit on his flower. "Find your own flower," he shouted. "This one is mine." "Mine," he says. And when one day the greedy bee found a meadow full of the biggest, juiciest flowers he had ever seen, he decided not to tell anyone. "Yummy," he buzzed. "Lots and lots of flowers, and they're all for me." The greedy bee whizzed and bizzed from flower to flower, slurping and burping and growing fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter. At last his tummy was full and he settled down on a big pink flower in the warm yellow sunshine and fell fast asleep. When the greedy bee woke up, it was dark. He tried to fly, but his tummy was so roly and poly that he went down instead of up and crashed, biff, bang, thump, to the ground. So there he is, upside down. "I'm scared," cried the greedy bee, "and I don't know how to get home." Then he saw two glowing eyes in the long grass. "Eek!" he cried. "A monster is coming to eat me." But it wasn't a monster. It was two friendly fireflies, their bottoms glowing in the dark. "What's wrong?" they asked. "I'm too full to fly," wailed the greedy bee, "and I can't walk home in the dark." "Follow us," said the fireflies, and they all set off on the long, long journey home. Through forests of flowers and squishy mud, over the hills and under the stars trudged the greedy bee. He had never walked so far, and he was very tired. "Nearly there," called the fireflies. Then they heard the whoosh of rushing water. "I'm almost home," cried the greedy bee excitedly. "It's the stream." And it was, but his hive was on the other side of it. "Oh no," said the greedy bee, sadly flopping down on the grass. "How will I ever get across?" "We'll help you," said a tiny ant with a big leaf. The ant and his friends flipped the big leaf into the water. "Jump on," they cried. Helped by the fireflies, the greedy bee and the ants made their way, splitting and splashing, to the other side of the stream. "Hooray, I'm home!" cheered the greedy bee. "Where have you been?" asked the other bees. "I overslurped," said the greedy bee. "I would never have made it home if my new friends hadn't been so kind. Now I'm going to share my best honey with them. Would you like some too?" "Yes," said the other bees. "Let's have a party." Everyone enjoyed a midnight feast of yummy, runny honey, all except for one very sleepy, very happy, but not so greedy bee. All right, so we are going to make our own little beehive, and we're going to put some bees on it. So to start, we are going to use a little clay pot. So these are just some cheap clay pots you can get either at a garden center or a dollar store, places like that. And the first thing we need to do is paint it. So I have some yellow acrylic paint, and you can certainly use poster paint or water paint or washable paint, but I like to use the acrylic paint. So I'm just going to quickly give this a coat of yellow, and it doesn't matter what shade of yellow you do. So we're going to get that all covered. And the acrylic paint takes a couple minutes to set, so we'll definitely have to give that a little bit of time while we get some of the other stuff ready. Okay, so if you want to do a couple coats, you can do that too. I think if you kind of just leave it rustic like this, it looks more like a beehive. So you don't need to worry too much about the coverage. All right, so that is our first step. And then the next step is to get our bees ready while our pot is drying. So we're going to cut out some bees. So I have some yellow craft foam here, and I've just sort of made 2 circles. So it's like the size of a loonie and the quarter, side by side. So if you need something to trace, you can go ahead and trace some coins. And I'm going to cut 2 of those. So we're going to put 2 bees on our pot. So there's 1. So we get 2 different types of designs here. There's going to be my second bee. So you can make your bees as big or as small as you like. So there's my second one. And the next thing we're going to do is make the wings. So we need 2 sets of wings, and it's sort of like a figure 8, or if you use like 2 loonies or 2 quarters, you'll get your wings. So I'm going to cut out my second one. And even though they're going to lay on our bees in a different way, they're pretty much the same shape. That's what they are going to look like. And they don't need to be perfect. Okay, so this one is going to attach onto this bee like this, but before we do that, we're going to take our black marker and we're going to add some stripes. So I'm just going to do that, and then I'll show you what I did. So there's some stripes on the bee's body, and then I'm just going to give him 2 eyes down in the front. So then you're going to go ahead and attach his wings. So you're going to attach them on top like that. I'm just going to put a little spot of glue there, and I'm going to brush that back a little. So there's our first bee. And then we're going to work on our second one, which is going to look like this one. And so that one we're going to go ahead and put our stripes on as well. So there. And then instead of his face being this way, we're going to turn him this way. And he's going to have a little smile, because cartoon bees always have those smiles. And then we're going to attach some wings. So we can just attach those from the back, however you like. So if you want, you could do them from the front, but I'm just going to attach those ones from the back. I think I might have these wings a little bit too big for the size that my bee turned out to be. So I'm going to trim those down a little bit. All right, then I'm going to attach those on the back. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue right there. And I'm going to attach those onto my bee. So there we go. All right, so now that we have those worked out, we're going to work on our next step. So that's just going to be the entry to our beehive. And so you're just going to take a piece of black construction paper or craft foam, whatever you have. And we're just going to make like a little dome shape or semicircle around the top. You're going to leave the bottom straight like that. So if you just cut from the edge of your paper, then you're going to have that. So now we're ready to carry on. So if you probably can now pick up your clay pot to touch. The acrylic dries quite quick. So if you want to do your second coat at this point, you would do that. And if you don't, you can continue with your decorating. So the first thing I'm going to do is use some of this twine. So it's like the jute twine that you can get in the craft stores. And I'm going to just wind it up my pot and make it look like the different layers of the hive. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and just start with my glue, and I'm going to make a line that winds up my pot. So there's different ways that you can do this. You can put the glue on the twine, you can glue it as you go, but I found for me that it's easier if I just do the line of glue. So you see how my glue is all squiggly, and it really doesn't matter because you're going to lay your twine on it, and then once it dries you're not going to be able to see the glue, and it's actually the twine that's making the line, not the glue. So you don't have to have a perfect steady hand for your twine. So once I get to the top, I'm just going to snip that, and I'm just going to tuck that on my last little bit of glue there. So on here, I'm thinking I wish I would have done another little line down there, so I'm going to just add another piece, which you can do. So I'm just going to continue where I left off here, and I'm going to tuck another piece in there. And once it gets down to the corner, I'm going to snip that off. All right, so that's going to take a few minutes to dry as well. So once you're ready, you can attach your door to your hive, which of course we all know that beehives don't have a perfect door like this, but in our cartoon world we can make it however we want. So there's my door. And then I'm going to just go ahead and attach the bees. So here's the first bee that I made, and I'm going to put some glue on there, and I'm going to just put the glue on the tip of the head, and I'm going to attach that to my pot. And here's my other one, which his wings got a little crazy there. I'm going to put some glue on the middle of him, and I'm just going to attach that one in a different spot. So there are two beehives that you can make after you read The Very Greedy Bee.